said he was. Oh, here comes Dave.
There he is.
Okay. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today's Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. The time is 9:01 a.m. This is a special meeting agenda. I'm sorry?
10:01.
What did I say? 10:01, forgive me. I forgot to put my clock forward 2 weeks ago. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, so this is the essentially final meeting to go over the legal review of the bylaws for the optional form of county government. Attending our commissioners, Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Okay, moving on. And we have been receiving a number of written comments as well, so thank you for those. Okay, so what happened at the last meeting is we did essentially make a decision to proceed pending legal review. And so what I did is I took it upon myself to take the document that Commissioner Brooks had drafted and that we had reviewed, and I forwarded the document to Dave Ferguson for his comments. And so we went back and forth three different iterations, and I made the changes essentially that Attorney Ferguson had recommended. Now, I can go over those if you'd like. So what?
Let me ask you real quick.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Did what you did make things more restrictive or less restrictive?
No, actually, thank you for asking that. What they do is they afford greater latitude to the study commission. So essentially what it does is it removes us almost entirely from the process until the very end. So they make the recommendation, we take that recommendation, we act on it, and we decide whether or not to proceed to a public vote. But during the course of that, and statute is, as Council Ferguson had pointed out, is pretty clear that the commission has fairly wide latitude to explore the various forms, whether to leave it, to change it, how to change it, whatever.
But there's no doubt as to whether the additional forms are legal.
No, that's true, they are legal. Okay, and it can take any one of a number of different forms. Yes. Okay, so what I did, Leslie, you have any questions?
No, I mean, I have statements, not necessarily questions.
Okay. Do you want me to go over the comments, or would you rather just go ahead and make your statements?
I can make my statements based on the clean copy.
Go ahead.
So just taking the subject matter completely out of it and just looking at the document for different items.
Yes.
There's contradictions, there is bias, and there is repeated sections. So I guess without understanding exactly what the purposed outcome for the document is, it's hard for me to look at it in a different way. Because statute does allow the study commission to do their own bylaws. So
Right.
to present bylaws from the board, once again, I think it is asserting some control or some bias over the committee. So just looking at the document with the different problems, I mean, yeah, and I can go through them one by one if you like. I think there's only 5 or 6.
Okay, so why don't, yeah, go ahead. Why don't you do that, and then I'll go through the changes. Go ahead.
Okay, so on line 18, it starts to say the study commission's findings and recommendations will go directly to the voters who will determine passage. Elected county commissioners or other officials shall not intercede. Okay, then you go to line 58, and it says the BOCC will decide whether to implement the study commission's recommendations. So that's contradictory to what?
Well, what's the first line you were referring to?
Line 18. And they came out with different lines, so I don't know how that happened, but the clean copy doesn't match up exactly with the comments.
Okay, so I'm reading lines, let me see which version you have.
Yeah, Under general, under the section general,
Okay, yeah, go right ahead. So no optional
Yes,
form
I'm
of county
fired.
government shall be enacted until it has been submitted to and approved by a simple majority of electors within the county. Okay, go ahead. Why is that a contradiction?
because it says that the study commission's findings and recommendations will go directly to the voters. But back here, it says that the BOCC is going to decide whether to implement the study commission's recommendations.
Okay. Bill?
I think that's easy to resolve. You strike line 58.
Okay, let me ask Dave. David?
Well,
Actually, we have the final say as to whether it goes to the voters, if I understand.
yeah, that's correct, and I think I recommended, if you want me to speak to this,
Yeah, go right ahead.
Please.
I recommended that the idea of the study commission's findings and report is really just a recommendation to the board, because it's the board that then has to adopt the ballot language and has to do that by resolution.
Right.
So the idea that the study commission's findings go directly to voters is really contradictory in that sense to the board having to ultimately make the decision whether or not to accept the recommendations and even put it on a ballot by resolution or to do something different.
So then why don't we strike that line, 18 and part of 19, where it says the study commission's findings and recommendations will go directly to the voters who will determine passage?
The reason it's a problem is because the study commission's findings literally cannot go directly to the
Precisely.
voters. It has
That
to
is
go
true.
through the board first.
That's true. All right, strike it. Yes? Guys, I'm looking,
Yes, yes.
all right. Okay. Keep going.
All right, so line 33, which is just listing the different forms, and I think this is just an oversight, consolidation of offices within the county, I think it's with other counties. It's not just within our county, it's with other counties, I believe, is that form of government. So it'd be, for instance, combining our prosecutor or sheriff with Shoshone, and so we would handle those duties over there, but then everything else would remain separate. That's my understanding of what that form of government is. It's not consolidation of office within the county, but it's outside, because with all other characteristics of the government of each participating county to remain unchanged, which that part is correct.
So you're saying it's consolidation of offices with other counties?
Correct,
That's an option, you say.
correct,
Is that an option?
yes.
All right, make the change. So it's instead of within the county, with other counties? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Keep going.
All right, so under objectives,
What line?
43.
43, go ahead.
It's kind of just going and repeating the other, forms of government. So it lists the forms, but then the objectives and the other paragraph, it's just kind of restating it again and again. So I'm not sure why it has to be restated when it's already been stated once.
Good
These are
point.
the things that, we're looking at. So that's, once again, I don't understand the purpose of the document, so I can't really speak to how to fix it. All I can do is point it out to you and say, this is repetitive and it's biased, and that's,
When you say biased, how?
I think repeating the same thing over and over again can be interpreted as we want a change, that this document is asking for a change. Because just to state it once, okay, these are your options, and then this is what you're going to study, then that's it, be done with it. Don't keep saying, these are your options, these are your options.
Well, okay, we can actually strike that, but when you say bias, I guess I don't follow, because if I look at the objectives, and you're right, it may be repetitive and we can potentially strike it, but when you read objectives, it says, I'm going on to line 44, the recommendation to the BOCC of whether to retain the current form or change it is not bias. If anything, it's saying keep it or change it.
Right, so that, fine, but then continuing anywhere else that it talks about the next paragraph, an increase to the current 3-member county manager, administrator, executive, part-time, and I think Dave.
Where are you
spoke to
now?
that
I'm
too.
sorry.
49 through 53.
Okay. So what do you suggest? Do you want to strike 43 through 47?
I want to strike the entire document. So to ask,
Well, that's not going to happen.
I
So if that's
understand,
what you want
so-
to do, we're going to stop right here. But
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if that looks like it gets rid of some of the repetitiveness,
actually, we could strike 43 through 47 because where 49 picks up is the goal is to provide for greater efficiency and representation. So why don't we do that? You okay with that, Bill?
Sure.
Striking 43 through 47? Okay? Mm-hmm. All right. What else?
let's see here. Got that. 2, 3. Okay, so under the directors, line 73,
Yep, I'm there.
Dave had recommended making a change there because once again, it still
did.
talks about, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, which I did, but go ahead.
Right, but it still doesn't go further enough. It just says it's recommended that at least 5 members of the commission be present for any vote. So once again, you have 3 out of 9 able to make decisions. So unless it goes on to say, we're looking for a vote of 5 out of the 9 for the recommendation.
Oh, okay, so let's make sure you and I, let me read mine, tell me if we,
Okay.
just to make sure we've got the same one.
Okay.
Each study commission member hereto referred to as study commissioner shall be entitled to 1 vote on any matter that may come before the study commission. While Idaho Code 31-51045 permits the study commission to make their own governing rules, it is recommended that at least 5 members of the commission be present for any vote.
Okay.
So you want to make it so that in fact it is at least 5?
Yeah, for the final recommendation, I think that we should have a majority of the committee voting on that recommendation instead of 3 out of 9 making the recommendation.
Doesn't that come later, though? Didn't we actually? Okay, so you want to add that for the final recommendation, that it be a vote of at least 5 members?
Yes.
Okay. So when it says, while permits study commission to make their own governing rules, it is recommended that at least 5 members of the commission be present for any vote.
Do you have any suggestions
And
for
especially-
additional language?
I would just leave it that way, not even say especially.
Just leave it?
Yeah, sure.
Well,
Go ahead, Dave.
Duncan's asking me to comment. The only comment I had was that as a 9-member board, 5 members can make a quorum.
Right.
And in the event that 5 members are there, and only 5 members are there, not the full 9, there could be a situation where a vote of only 3
Right.
could, pass a measure, whatever that measure is. So it seems to me prudent, at least for the final decision of the study commission, that the board asked all 9 members to be there with a full vote of the entire commission.
Okay, so, but if we leave it as is, we essentially accomplish that because it says in the last phrase, it is recommended that at least 5 members of the commission be present for any vote. Well, if it's for any vote, it's certainly for the final vote as well.
That's only 5 members. It says at least 5 members. So a minimum of 5 members could be there, and then you could have it pass with
Okay, so-
only 3 to 2.
Okay, so you're
Having said that, the law does say that the study commission can make its own rules governing how it operates.
Yes.
So this would really only be a recommendation.
The whole entire document is only a recommendation.
Yeah. Okay,
As far as the document covers how the study commission operates, it's only a recommendation.
it's only a recommendation. Okay, so then, are we making any changes? Are we going to add that all 9 members must be present for the final vote?
I think final decision of study commission
The final recommendation,
should be voted on by all 9 members. Or should contain a
the
vote.
final recommendation of the study commission, okay. should contain all 9 members. How's that? Okay, what else you got?
94, 95. County commissioners may authorize payment to reimburse a study commissioner for nominal expenses incurred by the commissioner while conducting the affairs of study commission. So I would add pre-approved language in there.
Okay.
County commissioners
May
may
pre-approve?
authorize, yeah,
May pre-approve payment? You prefer that?
well, pre-approve spending,
Authorize expenditures.
yeah.
Well, it says now county commissioners may authorize payment.
Right, to reimburse, but it doesn't talk about pre-approval.
I would say must authorize prior to expenditures.
Why don't we just
Okay.
say must pre-approve? How's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay? All right. Okay, then. I'll just go through some of the other changes that I incorporated based on the comments that Dave made. Okay? If you could look at line number 26. And it should, yes, it's reflected in here. Okay, so line number 26 said, retain the current form of government, county government. That was one option. And what I added per Dave's comment is retain the current form of county government and relevant analysis for same, because his point was that it should contain an analysis of the retention of the current form of government. If you go down under authority, line number 55, I'm trying to go through 2 documents here. The comment on that first line where it says the Kootenai County Board of County Commissioners has the authority by resolution. The comment was there is no legal authority for the study commission to put anything on a ballot. We know that. Only the BOCC by resolution may put forth a ballot, and it's substantial, and to basically agree with Idaho Code 31-5005. And so basically I just said I made the necessary change to reflect that in the copy that you have. Down on line 58, it says originally, the BOCC will decide whether to implement the study commission's recommendations. Dave's comment was the BOCC must vote by resolution to place the question on the ballot. The BOCC is not required by law to follow any recommendations of the study commission. The study commission is merely providing an analysis and a non-binding recommendation to the BOCC. So what I did in the copy, the clean copy we have, it says the study commission's findings and recommendations will go directly to the Board of County Commissioners. The BOCC will decide whether to implement the study's commission's recommendations. Okay? All right. Go to 78 under meetings. I think we went too far there when we described that. So council, so Dave's comments to that section is Idaho Code 31-5104 and the Idaho Open Meeting Law govern meetings of the study commission, which means they got to follow all the same laws we do. Idaho Code 31-5404-5 permits the study commission to make its own rules. We touched on that earlier. So some of these requirements presented here could easily be changed by the study commission. And I made some modifications based on Dave's comments. He also went on to say with regard to, if you look at line 81, Dave's comment says there is no reference anywhere else in this document to a board of directors. So I had to strike that term. The study commission has the power to control its own internal organization, except for appointing members pursuant to 31-504. The chairman is typically the member who can call for the meetings as well as when a quorum is present. So I basically made the change per that recommendation, as you can see in the clean copy that you have, okay?
So I have a question on the meetings.
Yeah,
During the first 6 months, study commission will meet every 2 weeks. I mean, why? Why that? Why not? What if they want to meet every week? What if they, want to not meet here? What if they want to meet someplace else? So I don't see a point into, they can decide their own, so why is it the recommendation of this board to say,
Good
meet
point.
every 2 weeks at our location, at our, our selected location?
It's only a recommendation. That's, if we said they must, I would be opposed to it.
Well, it says will meet every 2
Okay,
weeks.
I would say it is recommended and leave it at that. I want it at a place where people can come and observe, and I want it on a fairly regular
Okay,
basis.
so then what would happen in this case is strike the first clause where it says during its first 6 months, we can say, it is recommended. It is recommended the study commission meet every 2 weeks. But now we're getting into,
It's only a recommendation.
it is recommended, okay, so it'll say it is recommended the study commission meet every 2 weeks at a location to be determined by us?
No, by the study commission.
Okay, to be determined by the, you okay, Leslie? By the study commission? Let them decide where they meet?
Per statute, absolutely.
Okay. All right, then. And then if you go to the last page, and I think we already made the change, Leslie, that you recommended, that we have to pre-approve
Yeah.
any changes. Excuse me, pre-approve any reimbursement. Okay? All right, so that concludes that. Okay, so last week, okay, so what we decided was that we were going to basically appoint the study commission from, let me see if my memory serves me right, one member from each of the central committees, one from Republican, one from Democrat, one from the 4 major chambers, Coeur d'Alene, Hayden, Post Falls, Rathdrum, one former county employee, where am I at?
Yeah.
And then,
WPOA and NIBCA.
okay, that's right, right, NIBCA, and who was the other?
NWPOA,
NWPOA, that's right.
and then a
in front of me
former
here.
county
Okay.
employee.
So what happened last week, and I know you both saw it, is we got a letter, an email rather, from Jake Geringer. Jake is, I think, Governor Little's sort of regional director up here. And what Jake recommended is, why don't we appoint a group, say an ad hoc committee, as he referred to it. So let's say 3 people, hypothetically. So each of us appoints one. They, in turn, appoint the 9-member commission. So once again, we're out of it except for those 3 people, and they appoint the 9. Well, interview the 9 or appoint. Obviously, people have to agree.
Right.
What do you think?
I like it better than the Chambers of Commerce and the current suggestion.
I like it because it provides an opportunity for representation for, I think, more people from around the country, a more diverse study commission. And I think that's important to this because it's a change for all of us. If we make a change, and this is all about an idea, not about a particular form of government. There's been a lot of talk on social media about taking away our right to vote. This is just exactly the opposite. We're providing citizens a chance to make a choice here. And some people, because of their particular interests, don't want citizens to have a choice.
Okay?
So I would suggest then, if you want to have Jake come in to status update on Monday and give us maybe a nuts and bolts step-by-step how to implement his suggestion, I'd be in favor of listening to him.
I would not. I think that's an extra step just designed to slow the process.
Okay, then how would you say we proceed
Well,
with his suggestions?
we go ahead and sit here, the 3 of us, and pick 3 people.
Choose a person.
It's fairly simple and straightforward.
Today?
Today, right now.
If you can, if you have someone in
If
mind.
it's okay, ask David. Is that legal?
I don't know what the agenda says, sorry.
Well, the agenda does call for an action item.
Yeah.
And the
Well, it
composition
says
of the board is
review
part of the
selection
bylaws.
Process.
Certainly
Does
is.
not say select.
Review commission selection process.
And that's part of it.
It's not the actual selection.
That's the
Not sure
selection.
Reviewing a process is the same as selecting
Right.
members of a commission. It's a little bit unclear, that's all I'll say.
It's part of the process.
I'm ready to appoint someone. Are you?
Yep.
Leslie?
I would rather,
Do you want to take a brief recess?
that's not going to help. I mean, I was going to go through my own interview process to pick somebody. So I just don't think the agenda agrees with what we're doing here. So,
So Dave, let me ask you a question. If Bill and I decide to to appoint people today, and let's say afford Leslie some more time to do that, can we do that? I don't want to go into another meeting. I think we've gone long enough.
Well, to the extent the agenda doesn't specifically provide for appointing people, and I'm not certain it does. If two commissioners act to appoint, that decision could always be ratified at a later meeting, again, with the same two commissioners presumably approving that. So you wouldn't even need to have a new meeting per se, you would just have an agenda item that properly and clearly states that it's a ratification of the prior approval. That could be done
business meeting.
at some special meeting, in a business meeting, some other special meeting.
So then if that were the case, okay, I'm sorry. So we could do that even, say, its status on Monday?
As long as it's properly noticed, yes.
Okay.
And I would, I was just thinking, I've got a person in mind and an alternate, but, and I've talked to them briefly about this, about the idea, but I haven't actually cleared it with them, that they would be willing
Okay.
to be this deeply involved, and I would like to do that before.
Okay, so then that goes back to Leslie's point. So then why don't we do that at status on Monday?
I agree with that completely.
More comfortable with that, Leslie?
Yep.
Okay. So this way we can each talk to someone and then go from there. So we'd have a 3-member ad hoc committee. That ad hoc committee appoints, interviews, whatever, hires the 9 members.
So are we going to put instructions to them? I mean, are they just going to go pick 3 of their friends each? Are they going to ask for applications, resumes? Are they going to have a structure where they should have somebody who, is familiar with government? I mean, that's what I'm talking about, having Jake give a little bit more direction. But I'm willing to hear your guys' ideas.
I think it's entirely up to them.
I think it's entirely up to each commissioner what process they want to go through to select their person.
Okay, so I'm talking about the ad hoc committee selecting the 9 members.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, precisely.
So if the 3 disagree on how to go about the process, then,
They're going to have to decide that. I think for us, it's to pick those 3, and, I mean, either that or we're going to go back to what we've done here. The idea is to try to get us out of it, let those 3, if you have enough confidence in the individual that you're appointing, hopefully that individual is going to be objective enough to try to get people on board who can think in a broad spectrum and take a wide approach to it. Very few people are going to be in agreement, I think, with anything we do here. Either that or we just do it ourselves. But for me, I believe we appoint the 3 people, let them decide on the process for interviewing or appointing the 9 members.
I agree with that.
okay,
One of the complaints we got with this system that I had proposed with the chambers, first I heard from Athol, well, what about us? Okay, fine. So if we include Athol, we include Spirit Lake, now we have to remove some of the others. So we basically got this email from Jake who said, why don't you just set up an ad hoc committee and let that committee make I can go either way, frankly. And some people actually even said, well, gee, if you go to the chambers, now you're getting urban representation and not rural. That would be a valid argument if this were land use. It's not land use, it's structure. It's two different things. But I'm fine, I'm willing to part with it.
The structure absolutely affects land use in the bottom line. It does. So when you have a 9 committee members, all who live in the city under that form of government, they're going to be biased towards that form of government instead of looking at maybe a committee of 5 people who live in the rural area and 4 people who do not. So there's more of a balanced representation.
Yeah, but that assumes that every member of a chamber is within an urban area. That's not necessarily the case. You have rural businesses that are chamber members. But anyway, that's fine. We'll move away from that and go with the three-member ad hoc committee. Let them do the appointment. Let them decide how they go about it. And one member of the committee might decide to appoint in a certain manner and another one in another manner. But
Exactly.
that's the benefit of having 3 people, because now you have an odd number and you basically go to a vote of 2 out of 3.
So do 2 out of 3 have to agree with all 9 members?
No,
Go ahead.
no, they can bring up one member and say, how about that person? 2 to 1, that person's on.
Yes, that's
That's what
correct.
I just said.
Right, right.
Okay, I mean, they're not appointing themselves by saying, these people should be on, these people should be on, these people should be on. There's opportunity for the 3 members of this ad hoc committee to discuss that.
Okay? We done? So it's a 3-member. We'll come up with the names on Monday, obviously talk to the people, make sure they're willing. And then they decide how they do it. Yes, it would be a vote of 2 out of 3, but I have to modify this to reflect that. So what I'm looking for, I guess, is a motion to adopt, well, we basically decided to go forward, but it was subject to legal review, but to accept the comments and the changes as presented today, to include a 3-member ad hoc committee for the appointment of the 9 members of the study commission. So,
So moved.
Dave, is that acceptable?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Second.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Nay.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Time is 10:34, and the meeting is adjourned. Again, we continue to receive comments. You can certainly submit them in writing.